Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast. And today I have Stuart Vinall with me. He is a high performance coach in terms of fitness and nutrition. So welcome, Stuart. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure, so thank you.
I am going to start where everyone wants to know, because I think the burning question is, why do you do what you do? So where did this all stem from?
I think for me, I've trained every day all of my life, ever since I was 13 years old. So
13, wow.
fast approaching 43 years now every day. So it's a passion for me. It's a lifestyle. It's just It's just who I am. It's part of me, really. And I've also operated in senior executive roles in large global corporations for the last 30 years. So that has been my career, but my passion has always been training, nutrition, fitness. And for me, now that I've sort of finished my corporate career, I can now pursue my passion. And my passion is helping guys that maybe have got themselves out of shape or know that they need to take some action, they need to get fitter or they need to get healthier or they need to lose some weight, is to help them achieve that.
Amazing. And how did you said 13, that's a really young age to get into this. So what was the point in your life that made you think this is my interest, this is what I'm going to do?
Okay, so let me start by telling you a little bit about me.
Yep.
So I was 13 years old. I had bright ginger hair. I had a face that I had a sort of a big chin and big ears, and I was just... like Louise always says, you grew into your face. I was a very unusual looking kid. I had zero confidence. I was very painfully shy. I was socially awkward, and I just did not know how to interact with the world. And for me, it was difficult. You know, just being me was difficult. Yep. I wasn't happy with myself. I didn't know what I needed, but I knew I needed to find something.
Yep.
And I was a loner, so
okay.
I didn't really have any friends. I was just in this little world of my own. So I lived in the suburbs of London. I grew up in the suburbs of London, and I used to take the train into central London, and I just used to go and walk for the day. I'd walk for miles in my own sort of little world, and that's kind of what I did. And one day I was walking through Charing Cross underpass in London, and something caught my eye, and it was a small little sort of boutique bodybuilding shop. And back in the early 1980s, gyms didn't exist. There was no Bannatynes or Virgin or David Lloyd. The sort of fitness industry hadn't really started yet.
Yep.
In fact, if you were into bodybuilding or going to the gym, you were probably seen as a little bit of an oddball or a bit of an outlier. But it just stopped me in my tracks, and there was all these US magazines, and there was, images of these guys with these great physiques, Frank Zane, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Lou Ferrigno. And I was just mesmerised, and I couldn't, I was standing there thinking, wow. And I walked into the shop, and I walked in the shop because I thought, I'm going to get some of these magazines. But then I saw a VHS tape. Now, this is showing my age, but my dad had just got me a VHS player for my room.
Yep.
So I thought, and there was this VHS tape there called Pumping Iron, which is a documentary about Arnold Schwarzenegger and him training for the Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
So anyway, I picked it up and I was so excited, and I ran to the train and I ran home and I put it in the VHS player and I watched it, and that was the moment. That was the moment that I knew this was me. This was my life. And I badgered my dad all week to get some gym equipment. And the next weekend, he drove me back up to Charing Cross, and we bought a bench, a barbell, some dumbbells, just a little bit of home kit. And then every day I trained for hours and hours and hours in my room, absolutely
This
obsessed.
was in your bedroom?
In my bedroom, yeah. So
I love it.
My poor parents, it was like, weights have gone down again. And then I got a punch bag in there. So the noise I was probably making, but I think they were just happy to see me have some kind of purpose, and they could see the change in me, and they could see the confidence growing in me. So
it's such an emotional story, even though, it's a 13-year-old boy you're speaking about, but I think it's so relatable for so many people of, that teenage years, just not really know who you are and how to fit in, and you're trying to figure it all out, really, and how magical that you found something that you could, put your interest and your passion and find a purpose. So what was the sort of immediate impact on you? Let's say when you started doing that, after a few months, 6 months, a year, and I don't mean just physically, but emotionally, mentally, what was your confidence like? And then I suppose let's go on to the physical part as well.
I think for me, it was just, I had a purpose now. I had something that I was passionate about.
Yeah.
To be honest, I didn't really know what I was doing, if I'm being honest. I was watching a VHS tape. There was no internet back then. There was no, videos that you could watch with influencers who would tell you what to eat or how to train. It was just this video, and I was watching Arnold, and I was kind of copying sort of movements he was doing. And he kind of talks a little bit about it in the documentary. So I was just essentially copying Arnold's workout. And a few months passed, and to me, I was turning into Arnold Schwarzenegger in my mind. Yeah. I was walking around with confidence. But the truth is, I was walking around in sort of muscle stringer vests, at 13, thinking, but it was good for me because it gave me that belief and that confidence. Yeah. The truth, did I really look that much different? Probably not, because I didn't really understand the nutrition yet, and I probably wasn't training as optimally as I could have been.
Yeah.
But I was doing it every day, and I was loving it, and it was just everything for me, my life at that point. So there's a part 2 to my sort of evolution. So my father's from South London.
Okay.
He's a working class guy. He was a very very formidable guy. He was 6'4", 6'5". He had a really big personality, and he built this business. He had lots of shops, and I used to work for him, 12, 14 hours a day. And, he'd constantly be ribbing me and sort of winding me up and trying to bring me out of my shell. He'd be like, introducing me to girls that came in the shop just because he knew it would kind of embarrass me, but trying to kind of encourage me to be more outgoing. And one day I was in the back of the shop, and I heard him say, "Yeah, my boy's a bodybuilder. You want to see the size of his muscles?" And I was thinking, oh no, he's telling this to some girl, and he's going to call me out, and I'm going to go bright red. And so I was thinking, I was dying in the back, thinking, I know he's going to call me in a minute. And he said, Stu, come here, I want you to meet somebody. And I went outside, and there was these 2 giant guys, these 2 absolute giants of guys, bodybuilders. And my dad said, these are 2 good friends of mine. They're going to take you to a proper gym and start training you so that you can, and showing you exactly what you need to be doing. This was like, it was fantastic. And I looked up to these 2 guys, and, I was 13, 14, and they were probably only 19, 20, 24, something like that. 2 brothers. And to me, they were kind of older guys,
Yeah.
And they just took me under their wing. They started taking me to this gym. It was a really old school bodybuilding gym in Eltham in South London. So it was a bit sort of spit and sawdust, a bit rough and ready.
Yep.
The very first day that they took me into the gym, they took me into the changing rooms, and Mark, one of the guys, he introduced me to this guy, and he said, "Hey, Len, this is my new training partner. This is Stuart." And this guy just looked up and he went, "All right, Litland." And anyway, I said to him, who was that? And he said, "That's Lenny McLean, the governor." So he was quite a famous South London bare knuckle fighter, come bouncer. Okay. So a bit of a face, if you like.
Yeah.
But he also went on to become star in movies. He was in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels and certain things. Yeah, that was the first guy that I encountered in the gym. It was very much like that, and I was in my element. I was amongst all these guys that were kind of, to me at 13, these were real guys. These were these were guys that knew how to train, and I just was in my element. I was there every night. As soon as I got home from school, I'd do my homework, I'd get on the bus, and I'd go straight there, and I'd spend my whole evening there.
Amazing.
So, and that just became my life.
Yeah. And how did you feel in that moment, these 2 guys, taking you under their wing? It sounds like you were pretty disciplined on your own anyway, but what did that give you in terms of fuel and motivation?
I think what it gave me was the knowledge. Yeah. They actually showed me how to train properly. Yeah. They actually taught me about progressive overload. They taught me about how you do multiple sets for different body parts. And back then we did actually I still do it. We did what is known really as the old school sort of bro split. 2 body parts a day. So yeah, I learned the old school way. I learnt from guys that had, really knew what they were doing, and they gave me all the advice, and they were just really nice guys, very generous guys. And up until I moved to Dubai, I'd still bump into them every now and then. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was always nice to have a catch up with them.
So clearly you obviously have qualifications, a lot of qualifications, I know that, but clearly you've had a lot of real life experience through many different chapters in your life. So let's talk about your career. Where did your career start in that stage of your life?
So my very first job was actually in banking.
Okay.
So my parents, my mum was from a working class family. She was from a large Irish immigrant family. But my grandmother was very insistent that she went to school and she got her qualifications, which was quite rare it was post Second World War. It was very poor. Yep. Most people didn't achieve an education, didn't stay in school. My mum obviously was very studious. She did. She managed to, do her O-levels or whatever it was at the time. And she got a job in banking in Lombard Street in London. And she had a very good career doing that for many years until I was born. And my dad he didn't have an education. He was a very smart guy, but he had no education. His school was bombed. And his first job was just pulling carts. He was a porter. He was basically a human cart horse. And his ambition for my brother and I, just talking about him.
Yeah.
He was an awesome guy.
Yeah. Absolutely. You've shared some stories with me, haven't you?
Yeah, he was determined that we'd have a good education.
Yep.
He worked 3 jobs. He paid for us to go to private school. He got us a good education, and he helped us get into management roles or accelerated management roles within banking.
Yeah.
And he wanted us to have that 9 to 5 career, not have to work 7 days a week like he did, doing, working every hour, physical work. He wanted us to have a career, have a more normal life. But honestly, banking wasn't really for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't really my thing. My brother was working in tech, and tech was the new shiny thing back then. And I used to go down and meet him for lunch. And outside this company that he was working for, there were Ferraris and all these, all the salesmen had all these really fancy cars because they were just making big money back then. And I looked and I thought, that's what I want to be doing.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and my brother was as well. He was starting to sort of break into sales and starting to build, quite a good career. So I went and joined him. I joined the same company, and we kind of worked together for a lot of years. And I got into new business sales and account management, and did very well.
And training the whole time as well, alongside your job? So, you were still training?
Oh, absolutely, every single day. I mean,
after work, before work? After work.
I always, in those days, it was always after work.
Okay.
So I'm nothing else if I'm not somebody who follows a routine.
Yeah.
I have a very sort of strict routine, almost boring to the point where, I think Louise is off camera, but she'll be smiling now because, she knows. So I had this very strict routine. I would come home from work. I had this kind of regiment where I would take myself to my room, because I still lived with my parents at this time. I used to make myself 3 rounds of peanut butter sandwiches. I used to sit down and I used to watch something like Neighbours, because it was the 1980s. And then I know it sounds like, hey, the guy that goes to the gym all the time is watching Neighbours, but I just needed 30 minutes or 40 minutes of my own time because I'm an introvert, really. And when I'm around people, I can be around people, but it does drain me. Yeah. And I just needed that recharge time. So I would have that 30, 40 minutes to myself. Then I'd put my gym stuff on. Up until I was 17 and I could drive, I would get the bus and then I would drive and I'd go off to the gym, and that would be it until maybe 9, 10 o'clock at night. My mum would have my dinner sort of ready, sort of cooked, and I'd put it in the microwave and then I'd have my dinner and I'd go to bed, and that was my routine, and it was the same every single day.
So, I mean, the routine that you're describing now, there's maybe a lot of males and females listening to this thinking, yep, that's kind of my routine, that's what I do, if they're into fitness and nutrition. Back then, I presume that you weren't surrounded by people in the workplace who had that routine. So what was their response to you, the people that you worked with, your peers? Did you have conversations around that? Were they interested?
I think I've always been different.
Mm-hmm.
I've always looked different. I've always been different. But I'm the sort of person that I'm not influenced by anybody else. I don't feel the need to fit in or please. I'm my own man, and I kind of lead my own path. And I look different. I mean, now I look relatively normal because there's lots of guys that are into fitness, especially here in Dubai.
Yeah.
But back then I did look somewhat different,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't care because that was me. It made me happy. It actually made me feel confident.
Yeah.
I mean, back then in the 1980s, people still smoked in the office, so people still went and drank in their lunch hours.
Yeah,
it was a very, very unhealthy time. But I was the exact opposite. I only ate certain foods. I didn't drink alcohol. I didn't smoke. So I was definitely different.
Yeah. So then moving on to later in your career, you are a high performance coach, and I know why you've got that title, qualifications aside, but what's your experience that, gives credibility around that title, I suppose? Tell me a bit about that stage in your life.
Sure. So, for the last 30 plus years, I've been in C-suite roles, senior roles. I've worked in really large global corporations. So I've been at that level. I've operated in the boardroom. I've travelled weekly all over the world. So I know I know how many hours in the day you have to put in. I know the pressures. I know the pressures of leading very, very large divisions, large teams. I also know the pressures of travel, corporate, events, client dinners. All those things make it extremely difficult, even for the most disciplined guy, even for the most successful guy, to just build a routine that includes, time for him, training, nutrition. Because when you're going out for business dinners, it's very easy just to, pick what you like off the menu, have a couple of glasses of wine with your clients or whatever. So, and when you're traveling, it's also very difficult to keep to a routine. So I know what it is like to live in that world.
Yeah.
But I've also found systems and habits and techniques for maintaining my discipline and my training and my nutrition. So now I've combined the two, and when I sit down with a new client, I can look at their day, their week, and I can understand the pressures that they have, which is quite unique because they can go and work with a young coach and they won't understand their world. They won't understand the pressures. They can say, you need to do this, and you need to do that, and you need to eat this. But it won't stick because they're not building it around that person's lifestyle. I build everything from nutrition to training, everything around my client's individual lifestyle. So every client's package, training, nutrition looks completely different.
Yeah.
It's not cookie cutter. It's not out the box and I just literally replicate it. It's absolutely unique to the client.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, that's what differentiates me from the crowd, really.
Definitely. And you love to do in-person training as well. That's a big passion of yours, isn't it?
Yeah, I do. And I know a lot of guys say, no, you need to be online now, but I absolutely love being in the gym with my clients, and I love seeing the realization when they start to connect with the muscle. I talk a lot about mind-muscle connection, and I often say to my clients, it's not about technique. It's not about textbook technique, because every coach will have a slightly different technique. I don't worry about technique. I worry about you connecting with your muscle, and everybody's built slightly differently. And I really get them to think about the movement. And, if we twist your hand slightly more, do you feel more? You feel that more? And we actually really fine tune the training to give them the absolute optimal results. So, and I love doing that. And I love seeing the transformation, because when guys start, they're very anxious. They're quite nervous. They haven't been in the gym for a number of years. They're not sure if they can, that they've got the energy or they're just not sure if they can do it. And then over time, you see that confidence build.
Yeah.
And they actually go from, I think, it being a little bit of a chore to it being something that they just can't live without.
Absolutely.
And it's such a phenomenal switch that you see. And pretty much every guy I work with, or every guy that successfully transforms, has that moment. And they're not, they are gym guys for life. They are fitness guys for life. They've changed their life. Sometimes, not everyone, but sometimes they change their friend groups. They change everything. They become a completely different person.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love working directly one-to-one with guys, and I love helping them progress and seeing the changes. And
you said something there that I think is so interesting. So we're starting to get an idea of the type of people that you work with. And these are high performers managing huge teams of people, maybe a family at home, and are probably very well respected in the workplace or in their business. Yeah. And they're role models, but yet they come to the gym and they're, like you say, a bit anxious, but, they don't have that confidence. They're a bit worried about what's going to happen. And do you think there's a link there that when these guys start to transform their health and their fitness, that is there a direct link to their performance in the workplace and the business?
Absolutely. One of the first things I do, because one of the biggest excuses that guys give me, aside from the ones like, I think I'm too old, I'm past it, I've got too many injuries, my bones are aching, my joints are aching. The biggest obstacle that guys put in their minds is they haven't got any time.
Yeah.
They just haven't got the time. I wish I had the time. They make all these internal excuses. And I say to them, okay, you think you haven't got the time, but I'm going to give me your diary. So let's sit down with your diary and we will go through every single meeting and every single day for the week. And we're going to analyse those meetings. And I will say to them, this meeting, what does it achieve? Does it drive an outcome? Does it drive a decision? Does that decision need you in the room to make that decision? Because if it doesn't, why are you in that room? Why are you doing that meeting? Because that is not driving your business forward. That is not good use of your time. And you see the penny drop, and all of a sudden we really focus in on their week, and we can move and make lots of room for time for them to personally focus on themselves. I also sort of coach them on the power of no. A lot of senior guys, they want to be that important guy that everyone has to come to, that they have to make the decision, and they have all of these conversations and meetings and coffees that they don't really need to have.
Yeah.
And I say to them, if it's not productive, if it's not helping that individual, if it's not giving you something, if it's not giving them something, just politely say, look, I'm really sorry, I've got other things that I need to get on with. Go and see, if you've got number 2, go and see so-and-so. I know he'll be able to work with you on that. You don't have to take every meeting, so we talk about the power of no quite a bit. And after we've done that, I will then look at their nutrition and their training. But that's priority number 1, because I want to find them the time and have them feel that they've got the time to invest in themselves.
Makes so much sense, doesn't it? It really does. Rather than, like you say, just telling them to get to the gym and eat better, it's like we have to find the time and the structure for that first.
One thing that really frustrates me is you see all these guys on LinkedIn and they say, you have to be up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
You have to be up at 5 a.m. You have to do 30 minutes of journaling. You have to do
ice baths and read a book. And
I'm, for me, I want my clients their lifestyle to be the lifestyle that they're used to.
Yeah.
Now, we do change a fair bit. We change their diet quite considerably. But if they eat 3 times a day and they have a snack after dinner when they're watching TV, I don't say to them, right, that snack's going, that meal's going.
Yeah.
I will build their new diet around what they're already eating, the foods that they like. For example, if on a Wednesday night they have a curry, they'll most likely get it from the takeaway.
Yep.
Most likely it's full of grease and it's full of sauces and all sorts of things and all sorts of calories. So I've got some fantastic recipes that are just whole chicken breast, spices that are very good for you that you can mix with the chicken, and it's still a curry.
Yeah.
And then we measure the rice, and I say to them, right, on a Wednesday night, you still have curry.
Yeah.
You're not going to feel like you're sacrificing your curry night for lettuce leaves and celery sticks.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to still have your curry. If they have something that's really special to them, especially if they've got young kids and every Saturday night is movie night and we have a pizza.
Yeah.
I say to them, that's fine. I'm not going to deny you that because that's your family time, and that's family is more important than anything in my mind. So I will then build the rest of their week, the rest of their diet around that one non-negotiable that they have, that one 2 or 3 slices of pizza.
Yeah.
I had a couple of slices of pizza the other night.
Yes.
Really nice pizza as well. And I very, very, very rarely have pizza.
And I might be exposing you now, but you definitely had a little bit of chocolate cake.
I did have a little bit of chocolate cake as well. And it was very nice chocolate cake. And I love all the things that are probably not good for me. I love hot chocolate.
Yeah.
That's my weakness. I love ice cream. I love fresh cream. I love cheese, But I have to be sensible. And I say you can eat all of those foods in moderation.
Yeah.
If you get the tub of ice cream out and you eat it from, you open it up new and you eat it to the end.
Yep.
And you pour double cream all over it or whatever, obviously that's not good. But if you, once a week or whenever, you just have a small portion, you build that into the week. You build that into your calorie count for the week. So the diets that I build for the guys are not particularly different from the diets they're used to. They're just built completely differently. They're built with whole foods, they're portioned, and they feel like they're still having their 3 meals a day. We'll replace the Twix on a Mars bar that they have at 9 o'clock with a protein bar.
Yeah.
Or, or a nut bar or a little bag of nuts. Or we give them something so that they actually feel like they're having a snack. They're not.
It's like a substitute rather than a sacrifice, almost.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the training. I sit down and I really understand. Have they got a bad shoulder? I've worked with guys that ex-rugby players, and they've got shoulders that are damaged and they've got hips that are damaged. We can work around that. Yeah. Quite often with guys that are in their 40s and 50s now, we do 99% machine work because the machines give you much more stability, much more support, and they're much kinder on your ligaments and your joints. So it's all about making sure, a lot of coaches, especially a lot of the younger coaches, they'll coach a 45 or a 50-year-old the same way as they'd coach a 35-year-old. Yeah. I'm not saying that the guys I work with, by the time I finish with them, aren't as fit, if not fitter, than a 35-year-old. Yep. But the way that we do it is very different than, training them as if they were a 35-year-old.
Of course. Yeah, that makes sense. And just on that, because I know that you work with a lot of guys in their 40s and 50s, but interestingly enough, you've actually had a few conversations with some younger guys this week, in their 30s. So I want to ask you about that. How do you feel about that? And chat me through that.
Just before I came here today, I had a message from a guy that's 35 who wants to work with me. So, I trained since I was 13. I trained in my 20s, my 30s. Yep. So, I've seen every training routine, every training method, every fad that's come and gone. So, yes, I do tailor the training for my 40 or 50-year-old clients, but I can also equally tailor it for a 30 or 35-year-old. And some of my 55-year-old guys that I've worked with are stronger and fitter than some of the 35-year-old guys because they've eaten right for a long period of time, they've trained correctly, and they've literally reversed time, reversed their age.
So interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, and nutrition is a big part of that.
Of course. Why do you think that you're starting to attract these younger guys in now?
That's a good question. I think maybe they look at me at 55 and think, if he's still in that shape at 55, he must know what he's doing. Yeah. I think maybe that's what it is. And also, I quite like getting to know people and building a kind of a personal relationship. So maybe there is that kind of not father figure, because it makes me sound really old and I don't want to.
Like a role model.
Role model, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe there is an element of that as well, even though I
Yeah.
still think of myself as 35.
Oh yeah, I think we all do.
Yeah.
No, it's really interesting. So it's interesting that these guys are coming through, and I think you've nailed it. It's that role model. It's if he looks like that at 55, you know, he knows what he's doing. And I think there's also a lot of guys in their 30s when they're busy business owners or in corporate, where at 35 they don't look like you, and you're 20 years their senior. So there's maybe that inspiration as well, do you think?
And I absolutely love working with a guy at 35 because I can build the habits and the lifestyle that's going to keep him in great condition and keep him young.
Yeah.
Yes, if I start working with a guy at 55 and he's overweight, he's got high blood pressure, he's already pre-diabetic because of the bad diet, I've got to reverse a lot of that. Whereas we can prevent that if I can get hold of the guys just a little bit younger.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll be surprised how many guys I've worked with that are on heart tablets, that are on diabetic tablets, and within a few months of eating right and training, they don't need them anymore.
It's fascinating.
Because doctors will only treat the symptoms.
Yeah.
You know, they'll just keep giving you tablets to treat the symptoms.
Yeah.
They're not actually curing anything. Whereas I will try and look at the root cause of why they're having to take those tablets.
Yeah.
You know, they're eating too many sugary foods, they're eating too many processed foods.
Yeah.
And we'll remove those from the diet. We'll still give them treats and we'll still give them food that they really, really like. But it's now whole, non-processed foods that are actually going to work for them.
Yeah.
That are going to keep their blood sugar levels under control and their insulin, etc.
Exactly. I'm going to ask you two different questions about people that come and work with you, because I feel like there might be two slightly different approaches to this. There's going to be people that, I'm sure you get this question all the time, there'll be people that look at you and think, yeah, that's where I want to be. I want to look like that. What do I need to do? How long is it going to take me? And I know everyone comes at a different stage, but this is the $1 million question for a lot of guys. If they want to get in the best shape of their life, how long is that going to take to build that physique? I know it's a very open-ended question, but I feel like it's the question on a lot of guys' lips at the moment. I
think that the reality is it's not going to happen in 6 months. You know, when I see all these guys online that say, get shredded for summer, and, you know, and they have this picture of a guy that's absolutely ripped and, you know, got muscles everywhere. And they kind of sell this dream that they're going to take a guy that hasn't trained for years, is not clinically obese, but probably fairly close to that. And they're going to, in 6 months, they're going to get them to look like that for the beach. They're selling them a false hope, really. Certainly you can get them to lose a lot of weight. You can get them to start building muscle, and they will look massively different in 6 months. But if you really want to properly transform, build into a really serious physique, you're looking at 2 or 3 years. But most guys, that's not their goal. Most guys don't want to look like me. They just want to lose weight, feel healthier, feel more confident on the beach when they're on the holiday. They're not coming to me saying, I want to be shredded, I want to have a six pack. They're saying, I just want to lose this tummy. I want to feel more confident. I want to be healthier. And that's a very different proposition. We can do that in 6 months.
So that's my second question then, because there's a lot of guys who definitely just want to shift some weight, you know, maybe lower the blood pressure a bit, get the suits fitting a bit better. And they're maybe looking at you thinking, oh, this guy's going to expect me to be in the gym 7 days a week and, you know, cutting out everything and out doing 5K runs. What would you say to that?
Yeah, that I hadn't really thought of it like that. Maybe sometimes I might be slightly intimidating, and they might look at me and say, I'd love, you know, maybe I'd like to look similar to that. But I don't want to work with that guy because he'll be too strict, or, you know, it's going to be too extreme. And as I say, you know, that's not how I work. If I took a guy that hasn't trained for years, is overweight, and I tried to put him on the sort of diet and the sort of routine that I'm on, he wouldn't come back the second week. It's not that I do anything special or I'm anything special. It's just, it would be too extreme an adjustment for him. You know? So I don't try and turn the guys that I work with into another me. I don't expect them to eat the way that I eat. I don't expect them to train the way that I train. But I do give them the core elements of what I do. I do educate them on nutrition and the foods.
Yeah.
And some guys actually end up wanting to get to that extreme level. Yeah. I have different kind of guys that come to me. I also have the really high performing entrepreneur that is absolutely obsessed with optimizing everything in their life, you know, from their nutrition to their vitamins to their peptides. You know, they want to analyze their blood work. They want to optimize every single inch of their. So that's a whole different proposition.
Yeah. Is that something you can help with, the blood analysis?
Yeah. So I've partnered with a clinic here in Dubai.
Okay.
And my clients, certain clients, if that's what interests them, we can get their blood work done. We can analyze what those bloods, you know, because a lot of time, what's happening inside is not necessarily always visible on the outside, but a few small tweaks and changes with some vitamins and, you know, peptides are a big thing now. They're really becoming the future. A few different sort of tweaks, and you can absolutely change somebody's energy, their focus, their recovery. You know, some peptides now are fantastic. You know, BPC 157 and TB 500 for muscle and joint repair. And there's a lot of things that you can do to, you know, this is kind of next level.
Yeah.
Most guys would not necessarily want to be going to this level, but every now and then you get that really top level operator that wants to optimize absolutely everything. And I've got that capability, and I've got that connection now here in Dubai, so that if somebody comes to me and they want that solution, then I partner with a fantastic doctor, actually not far, just down in the marina.
Okay.
And we do that. I mean, I have my bloods done all the time.
Amazing.
Because I like to know exactly what's going on inside as well as outside.
Yeah, of course. So in terms of people getting to know a bit more about you and where they start, how do they reach out? I think a really good place to start would be the book. So you've written a book, and I think that's a great place for people to go find out who Stuart Vinall is. And we've covered a lot today, but we actually have it here. Do you want to grab it, hold it up there so people can see? Yeah,
I guess the title is, I guess you have to be British to kind of get the title.
Okay.
So the title is Fat Cat to Butcher's Dog.
Okay.
So, you know, in sort of British culture, a fat cat is a guy that's a little bit overindulgent. You know, he's at the top, but he's a little bit lazy, he's a little bit overindulgent.
Okay.
And you know the old saying, as lean as a butcher's dog.
Yep.
So I kind of did a play on words, you know, I'll take you from being that, you know, that executive fat cat, being as lean as a butcher's dog.
Amazing.
And I guess it's split into two, this book. It's the first half is, there's some hard truths in there. You know, I haven't written this to make the guys that read this necessarily feel good about themselves. I've written it to make them question where are they? What has happened in the last few years? Are they lying to themselves? You know, are they making excuses? Are they avoiding what they need to do?
Yeah.
So there are some hard truths in there. There are some kind of light bulb moments where hopefully the guys will read it and they'll think, yeah, that's right, that's me.
Okay.
But the second half it's effectively my life's work. It's my blueprint. It's every habit, everything that I've optimized over the years, from nutrition, recovery, training, time management, energy management, everything in there. And it's broken down so that anybody that reads this can follow it letter by letter, and they've got a full plan on how they can basically optimize their life, optimize their performance.
Wow. And how can they get a hold of the book?
It's on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can order it from Amazon. You can order it as a hardback, paperback, or an ebook.
Great.
So it's available now. My second book, which I've just finished, but I haven't published yet. Hopefully I'm going to get that out sometime this year as well.
Great. And if people want to get in touch with you, Stuart, what's the easiest way to do that?
I would say, you know, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn. Just reach out to me.
Ask the question.
Just ask the question. I'm always happy to have a conversation. Even if somebody doesn't necessarily feel ready to work with me, if they've got some questions, you know, I love talking to people. I love answering questions, even if I can just give them a few little snippets of advice, and they take that away, and it helps them while they're still on that journey to really realising that maybe they need some more help.
Amazing. Thank you so much for today. I think that is going to be an amazing listen. I think your story is so impressive. Your knowledge clearly is impressive, and I can't wait to see what you do here in Dubai. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.